In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use AI to learn 1,000 words a day in any language. Learning a lot of vocabulary is extremely important when you're learning a foreign language, especially in the beginning, but always. Simply because if you don't know the words, you can't really speak or understand the language, right? You first of all need to learn enough words. It doesn't matter if you know the grammar rules or any of that. If you don't know the words, you don't understand and you can't speak. So learning a lot of vocab is extremely important, and memorizing it with associations is the most effective way to learn a lot of vocabulary quickly. This is a technique that I learned a long time ago in a memorization course, and I've been perfecting since then. It takes some time to get good at, but nowadays we can use ChatGPT or similar, whatever tools you've got, to get good at it fast. Basically, you can use AI to assist you to create associations. You will still need to visualize the words, the associations, but AI can create the associations for you, which makes the process much faster, easier, and you can learn more words faster so you can understand the language sooner and also start to speak. Basically, what you need to do is go to the description and paste this um, prompt that I got there for you, and you start memorizing words. I'm using this is the prompt. I'm using mnemonic associations to memorize language, whatever. I'm learning Hindi now, but you could use whatever. Memorize German, vocabulary fast, Russian, vocabulary fast, whatever. Can you give me a list of 10 words in English or whatever your native language is that sound like the Hindi word for holiday? I have no idea what holiday is in Hindi. So basically, what you need to do is type, substitute this and this, obviously, uh, with whatever language you're learning. And then for each one of the words, just type the word here. Yeah. So memorize the Hindi word for food. Then create an association with the English words that sound like the word and the English meaning of the word. So this is the way we do it. Paste it, and now we get kana or kana. In you don't learn pronunciation with this, but that's for another time. Pronunciation work will you learn that with listening and then listening, repeating drills, things like that. Now you need to learn the words phonetically. I don't know the exact pronunciation of this, but first you need to know what the like, know the learn the words approximately, and then once you hear them over and over in sentences, you'll start to recognize them. So kana or khana is food in Hindi. So now we have 10 words in English here that kind of sound like that. I recommend you use Ghana or Kana. What is this picture? Oh, can. So the can. Okay, yeah. Uh, Personally, I would use Genghis Khan for this. Okay, how do you pronounce that? Genghis Khan. Yeah. And I imagine him eating. I visualize him, Genghis Khan. There's no Khan here. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I've got a lot of practice with this. Uh, so I imagine Genghis Khan eating a bunch of cans. So now I know the can is to eat, but you have to actually visualize it. Yeah, you make the mental image. Close your eyes if you have to. I'd rather use my own imagination, my own mind, because I think it's better than AI. Not because I'm a genius or anything. It's just I've got a lot of practice with this, and if I'm going to memorize it, I'd rather use my own the things that come to mind first instead of whatever this fits me. But at first, I know this exercise is not easy, so this will give you a lot of assistance. This will give you a lot of ideas to come up with things. Um, so basically, yeah, I visualize Genghis Khan eating cans, and now I know that can or kana is food in Hindi. It's not super accurate, but if you do this with hundreds of words, And you can do this with 10 words a minute or more. Yeah, you just paste the same thing. What's the Hindi for drink? Noun, because otherwise it would to drink. Pay. Yeah, so someone paying for a drink. Bay, Michael Bay. Pee, someone drinking pee. You get the idea. You can. What about you can visualize first when we have pray as well. Um, for what's the Hindi word for uh, house? God, car. Yeah, car or Jar Jar Jar. Isn't that the guy from Star Wars? The like, really stupid guy. Scar, Char. Now the question is, where do we get 1,000 words from? Because you can't come up with all of them. Well, one thing you can do is simply if you're reading something or listening to something or watching something, every new word that you encounter, you can paste it here and create an immediate association and visualize it. And then you keep watching and then you keep doing it more and more. You can also uh, try to say things, and every time you run out of words and you don't know the word that you need, you come back here and you uh, like give me the Hindi word for I don't know wedding. In fact, it's fine. Like I've got a wedding next week. A wedding. It's shadi. So visualize a really shady wedding, for example. A bunch of shady people there, like you got Tony Soprano and a bunch of like gangsters and stuff, pimps and you know or whatever. Like that's the first thing that came to my mind. Like whatever comes to mind first. But this will give you ideas. Um, so things you see, words that you see in and that you didn't know when reading or listening or watching stuff, and you paste them here and you keep learning them like that. Visualize them and memorize them, and you most likely will remember them. Words that you wanted to use when speaking. Although for this you need to already be able to speak some words, otherwise it's going to be very hard, right? But to keep expanding your vocabulary, you can do it then. But at first, what I recommend you do at first is take a big list of the 1,000 most common words, and you do this exercise with the whole list, one word after another, like food, drink, house, car, friend, dad, mom, man, woman, blah blah blah. Learn, go, eat, basic verbs, all that stuff. That's in the most common 1,000 words list. If you can do this, uh, you can do these associations like this in a couple hours with the whole list, and you will not remember all of them maybe, but you remember most of them. And if you do the same thing the next day, probably remember most of them. Then that allows you to already start listening and understand quite a lot. So if you want the most common 1,000 word list, I've got one that just ask for it in the comments and I can send it to you, and then you can just translate the list into any language that you're learning, and you can do this exercise with the whole list, and you can learn the most common 1,000 words. In fact, I've got more than 1,000 words in our list. I've got the most common 1,000 words, and then around 500 common verbs. A lot of them are not common. Like the most common 500 verbs, because we use around 100 verbs in daily conversation, not much more than that. And then the rest, like the rest of the 500 most common words, are way less common, and a lot of them are useful if you want to read articles and listen to the news, things like that. because yeah, you don't use words like emphasize, or I mean, you do use them, but not in daily conversation, and you certainly don't use them when you just started learning a language. But those verbs are really really useful if you want to start listening or watching, listening to or watching real life content like news or podcasts, radio, things like that, because they will use the bigger words, the more advanced verbs. So that list, not on the 1,000 most common words, with which you can understand already 80% of the language, but then the most common 500 verbs, you can do this again in a day with the whole list. That will help you understand a lot more when you're listening. So you combine this, memorizing the whole list of common words, and then after that, all the unknown words that you keep encountering with these associations, you combine it with comprehensible input. So you start doing a lot of listening. And if you just listen to a language that's not very similar to yours, you will not understand anything at first. You will not understand anything. But if you listen to it regularly and you memorize hundreds or even thousands of words a day doing this, you will very quickly start recognizing a lot of the words when you listening. And then that will help you remember them because you heard those words in context. So in just a few days, you will be able to understand a lot, and then speaking will take more work, getting good at speaking. But comprehension is as simple as that. Get a lot of listening practice, memorize a lot of vocab, and eventually grammar. Yeah, who cares? You learn it eventually in context if you keep listening. And there are other exercises for that, so translation and things like that. But this is basically what all that you need to understand any language. Memorize a ton of vocab, starting with the most common words, and then expanding to more and more vocab that from that specific niche that you're listening to, or vocabulary that you encounter, unknown vocabulary that you encounter when reading and listening. So, long story short, paste this thing, um, change Hindi for whatever language you're learning, and then here the word in English from the list, and you get the word in the language with words that sound like it, and then you visualize the association. If these don't work for you, at least they will give you some ideas to create your own associations. It's really important that you visualize them. Yeah, and yeah, just keep doing this daily. At least 100 words. I would do at least 100 words. If you can do 1,000 in a day, you're unstoppable. You can learn any language super fast with this, as long as you also listen. All right. Um I this is by the this is the best language learning. This is the best thing you can do for language learning, like fast language learning. Try this for a few days. Memorize a few hundred words with this. If you do 1,000, then that's great. It requires some time, but yeah, uh, in a couple hours you can memorize a whole list of 1,000 most common words. This, I repeat, this is the best and fastest way to learn any language fast. Learn thousands of words with associations like this, and then just simply listen while you're doing it. No, while you memorize, but like the same day, like you go for a walk or something and you listen to the radio, and you keep doing this daily with a few hundred words, and in a few weeks you will understand everything. It's as simple as that. Yeah, and I'm giving you this for free. So give it a like, subscribe, and all that, because it doesn't get any better than this. This is the secret to learn languages fast, right? Anyway, I know this is super useful. This is the best language learning information you'll find online. Yeah, subscribe and see you next time with more advice. And ask me questions in the comments if you have any.